Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Snakebite. I think you can guess which team is going to go first, but we have a lot to cover. Being the #1 team in the country, still remaining the #2 team in the country, and a whole lot more is on the docket. Let's roll the intro. It's safe to say that Florida Southern women's lacrosse are firmly in the driver's seat of both the Sunshine State Conference and the current state of Division II women's lacrosse. In case you missed it, the Mocs picked up their first win in their last 6 contests against the Tampa Spartans, the back-to-back national champs, and it started off with Tampa taking advantage of a woman-up opportunity as one of the Mocs star defenders, Audrey Kennelly, the preseason All-American, picked up a yellow card just 4 seconds into the matchup at Barron Field. The consequence was a quick Spartan goal to put the Spartans up early 1-0. But that's when the historic tug-of-war began, and Florida Southern answered with a goal of their own, and the two sides continued to trade blows, with the Mocs finding the advantage in the first before being pulled right back to even entering the half, thanks to Tampa's dominance in the second quarter. The Mocs were held to 0 goals over the final 13.5 minutes of the first half, with 3 Spartan goals to combat. After the Mocs scored the first goal of the second half to get back on track, the reigning national champs looked like it, swiftly responding by securing a 10-7 lead before the Mocs cut it to 10-8 entering the fourth. And there was still a lot of work left to do, but in that final 15 minutes of play, the Mocs looked like a true national contender. Despite both teams struggling in goal with 2 goalies in net for each squad, the Mocs defense shut out the Spartans' near unstoppable offense in the fourth, pairing that with 4 goals for the good guys to pull off the 12-10 upset. This marks the first win over Tampa in over 2 years. And as previously mentioned, the Mocs are now the sole owner of the #1 seed in the SSC with a perfect 4-0 record in conference play. But that does have an asterisk of sorts. Despite beating every top 5 seeded team in the Sunshine State Conference and every top 15 team in the conference nationally, they have 1 less game played than every other team other than Palm Beach Atlantic, and the reason is they were scheduled to play PBA in West Palm Beach on Wednesday before the contest was postponed due to weather. So they'll eventually return to action, and that will be Saturday in Winter Park against the #17 ranked Rollins College Stars at 1 p.m., followed up by a matchup at home against Florida Tech before they figured out all that stuff with PBA.
Over this last weekend, our Mocs took on the #1 ranked Tampa Spartans, taking 1 of 3 games home. In Game 1 on April 2nd, our Mocs took home a 3-1 victory. This victory for the Mocs came off the back of Sachin Ramos, who threw 5 2/3 innings, giving up 4 hits, and struck out 5, only giving up 1 earned run. After Ramos, the Mocs bullpen came up strong, not allowing a run for the rest of the game. Casey Odell and Aiden Kelly both threw 1 2/3 innings to close out the win for the Mocs. As for the Mocs offense, there was solid contributions from everyone, including hits from Ryan Jenkins, Mikey Scott, Will Burke, Brock Badaki, and Eli Thurman. As for Game 2, the Mocs played hard but unfortunately didn't get the intended result. The Mocs lost by a despairing final score of 12-1. In that one, Tampa pitcher B.J. Bailey held the Mocs cold, only giving up 2 hits and no earned runs in his 7 innings pitched. Game 3 also resulted in a loss, this time by a score of 9-4. Once again, the main takeaway being Tampa's lights-out pitching machines, with their starter only giving up 1 run through 6 innings. All in all, the Mocs had really tall tasks taking on the #1 ranked Tampa Spartans, and they're now looking at a 17-15 record with a 7-7 record in the SSC. They play a 3-game series starting tonight at historic Henley Field against the St. Leo Lions, and they will continue to play against SSC competition going from here on out.
The men's and women's track teams were back in action this past week at Embry-Riddle for the ERAU Running Elements Classic. Try to say that 5 times fast. At the event, multiple records were broken by Florida Southern, but we got to start on Friday afternoon. Sophomore Nika Givden, coming off an 800-meter PR and program best, ran the 3rd fastest 1500 in program history. We also saw a number of other contributors in the 1500, with Heloise Pinto and Caitlin Beery being some of the top contributors in that event. Following it up, we saw Hope Schoenwetter find another freshman record in the steeplechase as she continues to shine, running 12:25.02 to be the top freshman finisher in that event. That's the 7th fastest time in the competition and 10th best in program history. Then immediately after that one, those runners who I mentioned in the 1500 and Givden, Pinto, and Beery doubled back for the 4x8 later on, with Kira Mothershed also joining the crew as she also ran the 1500, and they found a new program record, making it so every single meet this year the women's team has found a new school record as the ladies stopped the clock in 9:57.48 to beat the previous program best for the 4x8 of 10:08.38 that stood for almost a decade. The ladies then followed it up with Caitlin Beery being the only one representing them in the 800 on the second day of competition. Beery found a way to continue to improve on her start to the season with a 2:20.48 in the 800, the 8th fastest in program history. And you know I can't leave out the guys. Eli Zupa had a great showing in the 15, finishing 5th overall. Didn't know he had speed, but he showed a little bit in his 3:54.3. We saw 4 other mocks get close to him, with Michael Topey, the former state record holder for Florida, finishing 7th, Cole Summers in 8th, and Christopher Colavita and Daniel Welling rounding out that lineup. Caleb Brady just missed the top 3 finish he was searching for in the steeplechase as he placed 4th overall with a time of 9:43.41. And then most notably, on Friday for the men was Jack Gerard, the freshman phenom, the Vieira High School product. I cannot say enough about this kid, as he was the top mock in the 5K, just missing out on a sub-15 performance, running 15:06.66. A pretty great week for Florida Southern in all, as the mocks found ways to break more records and continue to get closer to those conference qualifying times, something they'll look to continue to do as they take on the South Florida Invitational in Tampa, hosted by USF, where the team will look to continue to try to make a run for that conference championship on the men's side and continue to stay in contention for the ladies.
The softball ladies had a tough Thursday against Tampa, falling 11-2 after the Spartans blew the game open with a 7-run 6th inning. But the loss clearly didn't affect the Mocs' mentality, because in the second game of the series on Saturday, they answered loudly, ending Tampa's 17-game winning streak in the series with a 6-3 win. All of the Moccasin runs came in the 3rd inning in that one, with key hits from Hannah Lewis, Kate Mickle, Cam Nolte, and Kelly Keating. Amanda Lieberman took her first win of the season in that one with her pitching contributions, going 5 1/3 innings with a strikeout to pair and only 2 earned runs. In the final game of the series, the Mocs were stopped in their tracks, losing 2-0. And while it is a loss in the books, 𝙏𝙃𝙀, key pitcher for the Mocs, kept the Mocs in Game 2 with a valiant complete game effort. Up next, they'll travel up to Dade City and take on the number 2 ranked St. Leo Lions.
Right before Easter Sunday, men's lacrosse had a lot to celebrate as they picked up a sweet win over the Lynn Fighting Knights at home. The game featured a back-and-forth affair in the first half, with scores from Maddox Walton, Elijah Terry, Jack Epley, and of course Jacob Czyz to make it 5-4. Coming out of the half, the Mocs kept the Fighting Knights at an arm's length, scoring 4 goals in the first 2 minutes of action. Lynn attempted to fight their way back, but the Fighting Knights' armor proved to be a little weak, and the Mocs ran away with it 12-9. The game featured a lot of great play, but Jacob Czyz was the highlight, getting 20 of 24 faceoffs to go his way. This performance obviously earned him USILA Team of the Week honors, and of course the SSC Men's Lacrosse Specialist of the Week honor. This is the 4th time Czyz has earned the USILA tribute, the most in program history. He also added another 12 ground balls to his total to get to 493 in a career, as he continues to add to his program record total. In their second game of the week, it was one to forget, as the Mocs' sweet victory turned sour as they faced the number 11 ranked Florida Tech Panthers, falling 11-6. This was the 8th game for Florida Southern against a ranked opponent this season, and like I mentioned, it was one where Florida Southern will look to have to pick up the pieces after they found themselves down 9-2 at a point in the 3rd quarter. The 2 games left on the schedule for Florida Southern are against number 19 Rollins College tomorrow, and the final matchup of the regular season against a receiving vote Embry-Riddle side on Wednesday. Something to really look for this Rollins side too. They have the 2nd best face-off player in the SSC, who got the best of Czyz in non-conference play earlier this year.
Yeah, and speaking of the Embry-Riddle Eagles, the women's tennis senior day was postponed due to weather, so they'll play that one a little bit later now. I believe it's April 18th that they're playing. And also beach volleyball, they played this week and unfortunately lost 0-5 to the Tampa Spartans, a team that just, continues to...
Tampa's just been great. They've been dominant since before the conference recognized the sport as a conference sport. But don't worry, beach volleyball has a lot to celebrate too. Co-freshman of the year and 4 players on all SSC second team.
Yes, Haley Carefoot, Sarah Eidler, Ella Pringle, and Lauren Pasaglia, they all earned second team SSC honors. And like you said, Pringle earned that co-freshman of the year honor, so congratulations to them.
And don't forget, they have that conference tournament right around the corner, and so do a lot of these sports. So make sure to stay tuned. We'll miss you here on the Snakebite.